Hey, let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself toning down who you are at work? Not because you wanted to, but because you felt like you had to. Last week, we talked about being your authentic self at work without losing respect. And while that video focused on keeping your professional credibility while being real, today I want to take the conversation in a different direction. Because there's another side to workplace authenticity that deserves its own spotlight. How to actually step into leadership from that authentic place without apology or hesitation. And maybe someone straight up told you act more corporate, or maybe nobody said it out loud, but you felt it. That unspoken pressure to play the part. So over time, you learn to edit yourself, to shrink, to put on a mask. A study by Catalyst found that 76% of professionals report some form of covering or modifying their authentic selves in the workplace. Now think about that. More than 3 out of 4 people hiding some part of who they are. But here's the truth. The more you dim your light to fit in, the harder it becomes to lead with real power. And today, I want to show you how to stop hiding and start leading with your full presence without the corporate mask. I'll share 3 game-changing strategies that have helped hundreds of leaders stop hiding and start leading with their full authentic power. And one of these strategies is so rarely talked about, it might completely change the way you think about showing up as a leader. So there was a brilliant professional named Adrienne, and she had vision. She had spark. And when she spoke, people paid attention. And that's why her boss promoted her to lead a team. But shortly after her promotion, a senior executive pulled her aside and said, now that you're in leadership, you'll need to tone some things down so people will take you seriously. And it wasn't meant to hurt her. In fact, it sounded like good advice. So she listened. She dialed back her enthusiasm, afraid it came off as soft. She stopped challenging ideas, afraid of being labeled as difficult. She started copying other leaders, even when their style didn't match who she was. And 3 months later, the change was striking. The light in her eyes had dimmed. Her voice, once full of passion and conviction, had now flattened. She spoke in careful, measured sentences that sounded nothing like her. And when asked how her leadership journey was going, she said this: I'm doing everything right. I'm saying all the right things. I'm dressing the part, but I feel like I'm leading from behind a wall of glass. I can see my team, but they can't really see me. And that's when someone asked her a question that stopped her right in her tracks. They said, if you're playing a part rather than being yourself, who's actually leading your team? And there was a long silence. And then she said, nobody, I guess. Just this character that I've created. And here's what happened. She disappeared. People respected her title, but they didn't follow her leadership. Her teams completed tasks, but brought no passion or creativity. Meetings were efficient, but uninspiring. Everything looked good on paper, but the energy, the very thing that made Adrienne a natural leader, was completely gone. Until one day her boss pulled her aside and said, Adrienne, I didn't promote you to be another corporate clone. I promoted you because of how you think, how you lead, and how you inspire people. But I don't see that person anymore. Well, you can imagine that hit pretty hard, because deep down inside, she knew that she had traded her impact for safety, and the cost was way too high. So she made a choice to stop blending in and start showing up. But this journey back to authenticity wasn't easy, neither was it quick. She faced real resistance, both from inside of her, but also from others. Her first attempts to bring her natural enthusiasm back into meetings were met with confused looks. Some colleagues had gotten comfortable with her professional persona and seemed thrown off by the change. She doubted herself constantly, wondering if she was making a career-ending mistake. Some days, the fear was so overwhelming that she slipped back into her safe, muted self. Her progress was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. She showed up authentically in one meeting, and then she would retreat into her shell in the next when she sensed any kind of disapproval. But ultimately, she was helped to push through this by finding allies, 2 team members who responded positively to her authentic leadership, and a mentor in another department who had walked a similar path. She started small, bringing back her natural enthusiasm in one-on-one meetings. And these were meetings with these allies. And then she gradually expanded to team discussions, then into larger forums. Now, it took nearly 6 months of consistent efforts, setbacks, and recommitments before she felt comfortable in her authentic leadership skin. She stopped filtering her innovative ideas. She began speaking with her natural cadence and conviction. And when she finally broke through, she was more respected. She didn't just lead her team, she moved them. She didn't just fit the mold, because she became the model. Because leadership isn't about performance, it's about presence. And Adrienne's story isn't unique. This pattern repeats with leaders across industries, backgrounds, and all levels. The moment they stop exhausting themselves by hiding and start channeling that energy into authentic leadership, everything changes. Their impact, their influence, and most importantly, their fulfillment. One of my favorite songs is by Eric Roberson, and it's called Don't Hide Your Wings. And there's a line that says, "Something in the way you are needs to be free. Don't hide your wings." Now see, that line hits deep because so many of us are out here clipping our own wings just to survive in corporate spaces. But what if the very thing you're hiding is exactly what would make you a magnetic leader? Let's talk about the real cost of wearing a professional mask. First, there's an energy cost. Harvard Business School research shows that covering or hiding aspects of your identity burns through serious mental energy. Now think about that. When you're constantly monitoring what you say or how you say it or how you move or how you dress, that's brain power you're using. And that's not actually going to leadership. Second, there's a connection loss. Real connection happens when people sense alignment between who you are and how you show up. When there's a disconnect, people might not be able to name it, but they feel it. And it creates a subtle barrier to trust. Third, there's an innovation cost. Your unique perspective, shaped by your distinct experiences, your culture, and your identity, is a source of fresh thinking. And when you filter that perspective to fit in, you're not just hiding yourself, you're hiding potential breakthroughs. And finally, there's a legacy cost. When you hide your authentic leadership style, you signal to others like you that they might need to hide too. And if they want to succeed, that's exactly what they do. You'll unintentionally keep the cycle going. What if you were never too much? What if you were just too real for a system that wasn't built with you in mind? See, your leadership was never meant to blend. It was meant to break the mold. So let's talk about how to lead boldly without losing credibility or power. Most people wear a mask so often that they don't even realize that it's there. And here's how to tell. Do you feel drained after meetings? Not from the work, but from the performance. Do you consistently second guess how you speak, act, or show up? Do you wonder what would happen if you just stopped filtering? If any of that hits home, then chances are you're hiding. And you can't lead freely while editing who you are. So let me share a powerful exercise that I call the Authenticity Audit. It helps leaders pinpoint exactly where they're hiding. Take a week to watch yourself in different work situations. After each important interaction, a meeting, a presentation, a one-on-one, Ask yourself these 3 questions. What parts of myself did I consciously hold back in this situation? Why did I feel I needed to hide those aspects? What would it have looked like to bring more of my authentic self to this moment? Write down your answers and look for patterns. You might discover you're hiding your sense of humor in serious meetings, or downplaying your cultural background with certain colleagues, or muting your passion when presenting to executives. There was a naturally enthusiastic and expressive woman in a conservative financial institution who realized through this audit that she was physically making herself smaller in executive meetings. She would literally shrink, speaking more quietly, taking up less space, minimizing her hands gestures, all unconsciously. Once she spotted this pattern, she could make a conscious choice about how she wanted to show up instead. See, the key insight from this exercise isn't just identifying where you're hiding, it's understanding why. Often we're responding to perceived expectations that may not even be real, or that no longer serve the organization or our leadership. One of the 9 pillars of authentic leadership is reflective awareness. Noticing where you're holding back is the first step to leading as your whole self. And if you want support with that, I've got something for you. Download the Authentic Leadership Playbook. It's my free guide that walks you through the Real Power Framework and the 9 pillars of leading with confidence, presence, and impact. Grab your copy by using the link in the description. Leadership isn't about fitting into a mold. It's about building one that fits you. Many leaders make the mistake of trying to conform to some generic leadership ideal rather than developing their own authentic leadership identity. But the most influential leaders throughout history didn't succeed by blending in. They succeeded by bringing something distinct to their leadership. Ask yourself, what makes my leadership different? When do I feel most aligned, connective, and effective? What kind of leader do I want to be remembered as? See, you weren't hired to be a copy. You were chosen because something about you stood out. Own that. Build on that. Lead from that. Here's a framework that I call the Leadership Identity Blueprint, and it's to help you define and own your authentic leadership style. Core values. Identify 3 to 5 non-negotiable values that guide your leadership decisions. Natural strengths. Recognize the capabilities that energize rather than drain you. Unique perspective. Clarify what your specific background and experiences bring to leadership. Communication style. Define how you naturally express ideas when you're not self-censoring. There was a leader in tech who struggled with feeling not technical enough despite her senior position. And through this blueprint exercise, she realized her distinct value wasn't technical expertise. It was her ability to translate complex technical concepts into strategic business impact. Rather than hiding this soft skill in an engineering-dominated culture, she began explicitly owning it as her leadership superpower. And within 6 months, she was recognized as an indispensable leader precisely because she brought something different to the table. Her promotion cited her unique ability to bridge technical and business perspectives, the very quality she had been downplaying. What's the key insight here? Your leadership identity isn't something you discover by looking outward at what others are doing. It's something you create by looking inward at who you already are, and then intentionally building your leadership approach around those authentic qualities. This doesn't mean ignoring organizational context or abandoning professionalism. It means bringing your authentic self to that context in a way that adds unique value rather than simply conforming to expectations. Remember, there are countless leaders who can play the part, but there's only one leader who can bring your specific combination of strengths, perspectives, and values to the table. See, that's your competitive advantage. The best way to earn freedom to lead as yourself is to bring results that they can't ignore, drive innovation, inspire others, deliver outcomes that matter. Because when you lead with value, people stop questioning your style. See, excellence shuts down doubt. And once you prove what you can do, you don't have to justify who you are. This is where many authentic leaders get stuck. They believe they face a choice between being themselves and being successful. But the most powerful leaders understand that authenticity and impact aren't opposing forces. They're complementary strengths. So let me share a strategy that I call Impact First Authenticity that helps leaders leverage their authentic strengths to create undeniable results. Identify your authentic impact zones. Where do your natural strengths intersect with organizational needs? These are the areas where your authenticity can create maximum value. Create measurable wins. Within these impact zones, focus on generating tangible results that speak for themselves. Connect your authenticity to outcomes. Help others see the direct line between your authentic approach and the positive outcomes it creates. Build authentic advocates. Cultivate relationships with people who recognize and can speak to the value of your authentic leadership style. One leader had a naturally collaborative, relationship-centered leadership style in an organization that traditionally valued directive, authoritative leadership. Rather than trying to become more commanding, which felt fake to her, she focused on showing how her collaborative approach delivered measurable results. She tracked how her team's employee engagement scores, retention rates, and innovation matrix all exceeded company averages. She documented specific examples where her relationship building led to cross-functional breakthroughs that would not have happened with a more siloed approach. When she presented these results to senior leadership, the conversation shifted from, "Is her style right for our culture?" to, "How can we learn from her approach to improve results across the organization?" So what's the key insight here? When your results are loud enough, people stop questioning your style and start studying it instead. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be perfect or prove yourself constantly, but it does mean being strategic about where and how you apply your authentic strengths to create value that's undeniable, even to those who might initially question your approach. So remember, your authenticity isn't just about self-expression, it's about impact. When you connect your authentic leadership style to meaningful outcomes, you create space not just for yourself to lead authentically, but for others to do the same. And there's a fourth strategy that I want to share with you, one that transforms not just how you lead, but the entire environment around you. I call it creating contagious authenticity. The most powerful authentic leaders don't just give themselves permission to be real. They create spaces where others feel safe to do the same. This multiplies their impact and creates a culture where innovation, engagement, and performance naturally thrive. Research from Google's Project Aristotle found that the single most important factor in high-performing teams wasn't experience, it wasn't intelligence, or even alignment. It was psychological safety, the confidence that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. Here's how to create this environment as an authentic leader. Model appropriate vulnerability. Share challenges, uncertainties, and lessons learned in ways that normalize growth and humility. Acknowledge authenticity in others. Explicitly recognize and appreciate when team members bring their full selves and perspectives. Approach differences with curiosity. When someone's authentic expression differs from yours, engage with genuine interest rather than judgment. Protect authentic voices. Actively intervene when you see others being dismissed or interrupted for showing up authentically. One leader transformed her team's performance, not by changing what they did, but by changing how they showed up together. In her first team meeting as a leader, she shared a significant professional setback she'd experienced and what she learned from it. See, this simple act of appropriate vulnerability completely transformed team dynamics. Team members who had previously stayed silent began contributing ideas. People started admitting when they needed help instead of struggling alone. The team's innovation rate doubled within a quarter because people felt safe to bring their complete thinking to discussions. What's the key insight here? Your authenticity isn't just a personal asset. It's a leadership tool that can transform entire cultures. When you create psychological safety through authentic leadership, you don't just free yourself. You empower everyone around you to bring their best, most innovative thinking forward. And if you're ready to lead with greater impact while staying true to yourself, download the Authentic Leadership Playbook, my free guide to help you bring your full self to leadership while commanding genuine respect. Grab it using the link in the description. And inside the playbook, you'll discover the complete Real Power framework, including the 9 pillars of authentic leadership that give you clear guidance on building credibility while maintaining authenticity. These proven strategies have helped hundreds of leaders stop depleting themselves through performance and start energizing themselves through authenticity. See, this is an abstract theory. It's a practical roadmap with specific language, strategies, and exercises you can implement right away. And I'm curious, have you ever felt pressure to hide parts of who you are as a leader? How did that affect you? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one of them, and I'd love to hear your story. Because when you share your experience, you help others realize that they are not alone. And see, your perspective matters. And it might be exactly what another leader needs to find the courage to lead more authentically. And I personally respond to the comments and would love to continue the conversation with you. And if you found value in this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I drop a new authentic leadership video every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And I want to make sure you get strategies that could transform your leadership journey. And if you're ready to take your leadership to the next level without selling your soul in the process, let's talk. You can schedule a free 30-minute conversation using the link below. No pressure, just progress. And during our call, we'll explore your specific leadership challenges, identify what's holding you back from showing up authentically, and outline a concrete next steps to help you lead with greater confidence, impact, and authenticity. And here's what I want you to remember. Your authenticity isn't a liability. It's your greatest leadership asset. The world doesn't need more leaders who conform. It needs leaders who stand out, who bring their unique voice, vision, and value. Authentic leadership isn't something you're born with. It's something you develop through practice, courage, and commitment. The path to authentic leadership has challenges. You'll face resistance, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But the alternative, living a leadership life behind a mask, ultimately costs so much more. So think about the leaders who've most influenced you. They weren't perfect. They weren't polished to a shine, but they were real. They showed up with conviction, appropriate vulnerability, and a commitment to principles that mattered. That's the leadership our world desperately needs right now. Not more perfection, more courage, more truth, more authentic expression. So don't hide your wings, spread them, and watch how high you can fly. I'm Lamondre, and I'll see you in the next one. Live big, live full, live authentic.